Thank you, Your Excellence, Mr. Tariq Al-Garg from Dubai Cares. We wish you all the success. Today, we are celebrating a non-governmental company, a non-related to the United Nations company, achieving this success, this big success in very short time. How come you don't want us to be cherishing our own country? All the success, Mr. Tariq, for you. So now, we have some questions that let me try to read what's going in your minds. I'm not going to take so much time from you, Mr. Minister and Tariq Al-Garg. Your Minister, when the schools of Emirates are free, troubles free? This is a difficult question. It is a very easy question. Do you know why? Because first we need to know the problem. There isn't a family, not a victim of issues and problems. So we need to take positivity to deal with such problems. We could convert this problem to become a role model to develop some certain behavior. Whether in family or the school, this negative behavior comes from a certain situation. If we want to go deeper into details to what problem means, give me details. We are talking about happiness. Let me recreate the question. When would our schools achieve, I will not say happiness because the studies are changing and the definitions are changing, but when would the schools at least will achieve 90% of happiness in its schools? We need it 100%, for honestly, I don't criticize this. The leaders and you, sir, are responsible for this important sector, education. For sure, our schools. Honestly, sir, let me say one example, a very fast example. Most leaders and eminencies and excellencies, they all study abroad. We have started to study and we started to learn agents from all around the world in our schools. This is good. When would the School of Emirates be happy? We need to differentiate between happiness and the quality of education and the grades. Happiness, ladies and gentlemen, it has some certain standards in schools. In the Emirates, we had a study in 2014. Emirates has reached 85% in happiness in its own schools. But are we satisfied to separate happiness from grades in schools and academic grades? In 2 years, we have been told that in a governmental meeting live on TV by his president, Emirates are not satisfied from the education academic grades. So the country, since 2 years, have been planning this program in Emirates. This project is called the Modern or the Happy Emirate School. We have so many aspects that we are working on right now. One of them perhaps is to reach happiness. We have 80%. We will make it 100%. We will reach. We need students to innovate, to create, so he could be more advanced in education. Prosperity and happiness are two types. We have periodic happiness and we have sustainable happiness. The economy needs to be successful. So once the economy is prosperous, then we have happiness. We have so many problems and challenges, and we will get exhausted actually, but we love challenge as Emiratis. We really love challenges. We love to create miracles. When they have told about many projects, everyone was wondering about our dreams and about the water tunnel. Sheikh Rashid has opened the water tunnel last night. The fire which have happened last year, it was distinguished within hours, and we celebrated New Year. For us, we are so honest here in the Emirates. We know our strengths and weaknesses. We have plans. We really do have plans. We are working on it, and through a short time we will find solutions. We are working on the right way. We have results, tangible results. We are not just developing schools, we are developing universities, colleges, giving new majors in schools. So the whole educational system is changing for us. I hope I have answered your question. Mr. Tariq, I have a question. Throughout this company since 2009, you have a very successful achievements. Society, unfortunately, they have happiness more than social services. Let's be realistic in this subject matter. Do you see we are spending money on happiness more than we spend it on services? When he eats dinner, thank goodness, but he at least he eats 200 and 300 dirhams per dinner, per meal. When you talk about the support of a campaign, without the support of the government, without a prestigious individual from the government has participated through this campaign, we will not find any activity. When do you think this definition will change? You're talking about the local society of Emirates. Let's talk about the Arab society. Without looking at the economic status, my opinion perhaps will help a little bit to tell people what is the big problem. Unfortunately, we, as a society, as a Gulf society, as a Middle East society, I'm not saying everyone, but most of us, they do not really take care of voluntary work. They don't pay much attention. I went to engineering school in 2009, and I saw so little students volunteering in Emirates. We choose non-governmental and non-profitable schools, and then we give scholarships. We go into Senegal. We have volunteering students from Emirates here, and we built a school in Senegal. But we have only those two campaigns. We only had two. We cannot do everything in the volunteering business here in Emirates. We really don't have the support. We do not have a volunteering work which is entrenched in school. We must include voluntary work in schools. In Western countries, for example, voluntary work actually it exists in curriculum, in education. So when the student is graduated and he has work, his mind is always talking about let's volunteer, let me volunteer, let me have a very major in voluntary work. But here in the Middle East, we don't have this definition. We don't have this term. When we first work, our students, when they first work in government, they don't know what voluntary work means. And the government entity he works with, they told him that we have a strategy of a volunteer work. Perhaps he could create or innovate on anything. Then the student tells him, okay, give me 2 years about what I want to do and the approval of the management, and maybe after 2 or 3 years I will apply it. This is our problem. We postpone. We really have to establish the minds of our people religiously from our own Islam. This is a problem. Actually, I am so sad about let us talk about the bright side. I will not talk in general, but Your Excellency, you know this, and it's good that you have talked about it. I've been asked from a higher committee that I must work on voluntary work here in the Emirates, and soon, you will hear something that will bring a smile on your faces. We will play an essential role. We have been with the Ministry of Education. We have talking about the Knowledge and Culture Ministry. We have gathered with the Committee of Abu Dhabi Education, the Council of Abu Dhabi, and we will form a committee. You were talking the other day that I told you I am working on something. This is what I am working on. We will have volunteer, we will have parents, we will have other committees, if God's willing. Soon you will hear a news, a law about voluntary work in our system. The problem will not be solved today. It needs more time. It needs more time. We need to give this term to kids. Voluntary work needs to be established in the hearts of our kids. I want to talk about an essential role, which is voluntary work in curriculums. We need curriculums which work with time plans. This is about voluntary work. 1 hour of voluntary work every week. We have seen this in higher education institutions that the work will not be finished without having a voluntary work. Like this subject. Let's rethink about it. Let's try to apply it in schools so we could create people loving the voluntary work. I am so sad to hear about the information that you all hear wrong. General education. General education in 2005 and 2006, we had voluntary work as 25 hours annually. Today, student will not be graduated unless he finishes the hours of voluntary work. Since 2 years, correct me if I'm wrong, since 2 years, the students really had a curriculum of voluntary work. Some students really have assessed and evaluated. They had 20 voluntary hours, 19 voluntary hours. We have 19 hours. I have specific information. It's 19. That's not. How many hours of voluntary you have? We have 90. Let me tell you, we have 25 hours of voluntary work in schools. The problem of our country those days that we have strange habits. It's what we heard this and we heard that. Come on, let's make sure that we take our information from the source. Our problem is the social connection, the social relationships. We had a new culture in our culture and we did not understand it. We don't think, we don't analyze, we don't criticize. This is a problem. So the voluntary work is very important work and very important culture. So the nations that have aroused, they had voluntary work, but we as a nation, in our religion, we have it. We have voluntary work in our religion. We really had it in our religion, but please time, sir. Okay. We have covered the question, I think. You have an initiative, it's called Let's Do It. Okay. If you may allow me, I want to change the traditional method of symposiums. Before ending this discussion and this lovely hearing, you may have many questions, and I'm very sorry for not answering many of your answers. But we will have many other meetings. I will ask you, Mr. Maher al-Mtawi, of educational planning, to say a word. We had a protocol to hear award from those distinguished delegates. But I really hope if we can have a word from her before we end this symposium. Honestly, it's a different subject. It's happiness and education symposium. It's different. So please, let's have a word of you. By the name of God, most merciful and compassionate, I wanted the session to start with Hassan al-Hamadi, the RCP and Minister of Education. Thank you for your presence. We are delighted to have you here, and we are very delighted to be with you. We are talking about education, well-being, and happiness. We were talking about the Emirati school and its role in happiness. The other paper was talking about the Emirates is always the home of happiness. Happy Emirate. This is what we got used to. This is what we've been raised to. Emirates always seeking to be internationally. So we need to take our happiness to the world. So we are happy to give opportunities. We need to teach others. We are opening the future, doors of future and ahead of everyone. Dubai Care has transferred happiness to the world, as an example. This symposium was held because of too many questions. How could we make an institution of education a home of happiness? So students spend so many hours in school with happy smile on his face. So students, how come he could work hard in school happily? What are the curriculums that we could teach to students? What are the environments of schools that could conform a better environment for the child to be happy? The students and other students, the students and teachers, the students and principals, how could we be assured to choosing the right teachers to give environments and happy and positive atmospheres to the kids? Happiness and well-being is not only to the school, but also to home and society. How to establish a culture that could play a comprehensive role to achieve happiness through education. We are hoping through this session to answer all your questions so we could give more papers and more studies from the UNESCO about this. And we need to give the Singaporean experience in Happy School eventually. Thank you very much, and thank you, Hassan al-Hamadi. And thank you for being here with us, Mr. Tariq, and I would like to thank everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Mahram Tawi, the Planning Institution and Educational Purposes, the Regional Center Education Planning in the Emirates, and the Minister of Education, Mr. Tariq al-Gurgur. Thank you. Dubai Cares Company, CEO. So we start now that we all agree that we can make education a safe environment and a happy environment if God wills.